If your shading ever looks muddy, flat, or just a little bit off, it's probably not your drawing, it's the colors you're using. So most beginners reach for black when they want to add shadows, but there's actually a few other different ways to shade, and each one creates a completely different look. So today I'm going to show you 4 simple ways to shade using color, so you can choose the one that feels right for your style and also the mood that you're trying to create. Hi, I'm Chris. Let's draw together. I'm going to use these simple balloons just to use for our shading examples so we can have all the same subject matter and see the differences between them. So we'll shade in 4 different ways. We'll use black, complementary, analogous, and blue. So first let's start with black. I'm just going to grab this soft brush. It's from my Illustrator starter kit. And I'm going to go, I have this all sorted out for you, so I have my layers all ready to go. I'm just going to put a black layer on top of my fill layer, my balloon, and it's going to be clipped to it. So that's what that arrow means. So if you're just wondering how to do it, it's just a clipping mask here. So let's just paint over here. I'm just going to go on the edges, just really softly to make this look round. Actually, I'll use a little bit of a bigger brush maybe, just to make this really soft. Just a little bit on the edges here, more on the right side because you can see our color source is over here, so it's coming here, so it'll be more shade on this side. So you can see already it's a little bit dull. It's fine, but it's a little bit dull, and again, it depends on what colors you're working with, but it's a little flat. Black is not wrong, it's just a little bit more limited. Now, it's going to be a little bit different what you do digitally than you do in watercolor, although sometimes, oftentimes actually the same rules do apply. You can kind of approach it in the same way, but we do have a few modes that we could use. So a few blending modes that will change it. And it's kind of like having the paint that's underneath the layers interact a little bit differently. So we can tap on the end to change this, and you can kind of play around and see what happens. Some of them look better than others. Obviously, that's quite vibrant. But I think the linear burn is probably similar-ish to if you're going to paint over with the same color again, like you would in real watercolor. You would do your base color, your shadow, and then you would paint over with your original color, like the pinky red. So you can try that, and you can also change the opacity, of course. Maybe make it a little bit less. And that looks pretty good. We can also go ahead and, like traditional watercolor, we can go take the pinky red and give it a go. So I'm just gonna have that, and maybe you just wanna dust over a little bit to blend it together so it's not just like black and red. Okay, so we can give that a go. So that is what black looks like. Let's move on to complementary. So this is a little bit different. So I'm just going to pull out my super vintage color wheel. You love this. I think it's from the 70s. It's pretty cool. So you probably already know that complementary colors are on the opposite, the direct opposite on the color wheel. So we're using a pinky red, so our complementary color will be green. So let's give that a go. So I'm just going to open up my layers, go to my complementary here, and I've got this set up so I have the green layer. So I'm just going to tap on that and grab the green. And let's just softly dust this here, just keeping it nice and round, a little bit on that side. Okay, so you can see that's not the most pleasing look straight away, but let's just change our color mode and see how that goes. That gives us a little bit more depth, and again, I might change the opacity just a little bit, just to see if that makes it look a little bit better. And then I'm going to go, we can even tweak it further and go to the pinky red and put a little bit more of a layer on top. It's not really necessary, especially with digital painting, but just know that you can tweak this a little bit more. Normally I would just play with the color modes really with my shading because this is just an extra layer. But I'm trying to get you to understand that in a transition, if you do paint traditionally, it might, make more sense because it's kind of what you're used to doing. Okay, so you can see that gives it a little bit more vibrancy. This is quite a bit duller. This is giving a little bit more contrast and a little bit more realistic. So let's move on to analogous, one of my favorites. So instead of using the green or the black, we're going to shift slightly on the color wheel. So let me bring this back out again. So our analogous harmonies are the colors that are closest to our original color. So because it's a shadow, I often tend to go towards the cooler side because cool recedes. So I'm going to choose a purple. So let's go to the Analogous. I'm going to choose the purple layer here, and I'll choose my purple here. So right away, this feels a little bit more natural because it's just closer to what, you know, the colors already are. Not so far off the color wheel. It's a little bit too light, so changing our color mode to, again, I think, you know, play with it. Multiply is actually not bad. I still think I like the linear burn the most. That's giving us a nice color. Actually, I think even this could be a little bit darker. So if you want to just do that, create a little bit more depth. And that's looking kind of nice. So it gives it a different look. And again, if you want to fiddle around a little bit more with, I'm going to add the pink over top. If you're just wanting to blend those colors just to keep that warmth of the colors. So you can see that that gives it a totally different look. And I like that a lot, actually. So now for another one that I really like is using blue. Blue just feels really natural, and of course, like I said before, it's a cool color, so it recedes. It means that there's more distance between you and that side or that, you know, that object. So often, even, well, in nature, we'll see that, you know, the mountains are blue the further distance from us. So let's just go ahead and try our blue now. So I'm just gonna go to my blue layer, grab my blue color, give this a go. So we'll just dust this. I mean, this is very similar to our purple, but just a little bit even more on that cool side. So we can go ahead, I'll just move this over, go ahead and change, play around with this. So linear burn, multiply. Actually, the multiply is good too. That's quite a bit warmer with the linear burn. This is a little bit cooler. Maybe I'll just change it just for the sake of showing a difference because that it was warming it up quite a bit. Maybe just play with opacity a touch. And again, if I want to blend it even more, I'll go to my pinky layer, grab the pinky red, and maybe just soften that up a little bit. Okay. That's a little extra bonus because I do this sometimes as well. I'm going to show you just what it's like when you just add the same color but a little bit darker. It is theoretically similar to adding black because you already your colors, but it's with some more saturation. So let's have a look at that. So I'm just gonna do the same color. So I have my little clipping mask here. So I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna get the same color. And all you do is you take your color picker down and to the right. So yes, you're making a darker color, but still keeping that saturation high. So we can just add this color and it creates a really simple shadow. It's not very complex, but it's pretty straightforward. So I'm just gonna create that little shadow there. So you'll see in this example, I actually don't have to change the layer style or the blending mode or add anything else. I can just do it just as is. So you'll see it's different than the black. It's different than all of them. So it's just another variation of how you can do a shadow. So it's another option to add to your growing list of options for different ways to do shadows and the different looks that they create. So you can see that black gives you a strong contrast between the colors. The complementary adds quite a bit of vibrancy, I think. But still, you know, it's a different look. I will admit is not always my favorite, but it does work in certain situations, so don't be afraid to give it a try. The Analogous is very soft and blended, and it really goes together, and the blue feels very cohesive and natural, and my favorites are typically I tend towards these two in most of my illustrations. Again, it also goes with my style. So it really depends on if you're wanting something a little bit, maybe complementary might be more realistic, but it depends on what you're trying to achieve. So there's no real right or wrong choice here. It just depends on how you want it to look. So next time you're shading, instead of just reaching for the black automatically, try one of these approaches and see how it changes your drawing, including changing the blending modes, because again, digitally it's a little bit different than regular painting. So we have a few more things in our toolkit that we can play around with. So if you're interested in the brushes that we used, I have linked them in the description below. They're part of the Illustrator starter kit that is found in the free goodie bag, and you're welcome to go grab those. So thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.